We're joined now by the Republican chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Ohio Congressman Mike Turner. It's good to have you back in studio. And I want to get you on a number of national security fronts, but you also sit on House Oversight, which is investigating the president's son, Hunter, and has called for U.S. Attorney David Weiss, now Special Counsel Weiss, to come and testify. Do you have confidence in him and his ability to conclude this in a fair way?
Well, obviously there are concerns. One, like Catherine Heritage, I also looked at the appointment, and the appointment seems more narrow than what Bill Barr had given him, the Attorney General Barr. This says that it's limited to the case that was brought before him initially, that's the scope, instead of all of the matters related to unpaid taxes. The concern here, obviously, with Barr being special counsel, Weiss being special counsel, is that he was the one that allowed the statute of limitations to expire on some very critical felony charges that could have been brought against Hunter Biden.
Why would he have done that?
The IRS whistleblower said that it was that interference from the Department of Justice. There's some question as to whether or not it's prosecutorial misconduct, but it certainly could be, prosecutorial malpractice. In any event, when you've been given the charge to handle claims of such explosive nature and allow the statute of limitations to expire, resulting in, Hunter Biden has in his pocket $125,000 worth of taxes that were owed to the United States that, as a result of these being expired, remain in his pocket.
Why would a U.S. attorney appointed by President Trump working under a Republican attorney general with career prosecutors have that level of conspiracy?
Well, it's not conspiracy. That actually occurred, that those...
to deliberately allow for the statute of limitations to pass?
I think those are questions that he has to answer.
Okay.
I know, why did this occur? The IRS whistleblowers said that it was interference from the Department of Justice that allowed them to expire. The prosecutor, Weiss, had been working with Hunter Biden and his attorney and actually getting waivers for those statute of limitations period, and he stopped getting the waivers. So he certainly was knowledgeable, aware that it was going to be expiring, and then something occurred where he allowed those to expire. But also his appointment is coming right on the heels of James Comer's release of bank records that indicate that we're now up to $20 million worth of funds that came from foreign sources.
Right, allegations in this, but
they're actual bank records. These are not. No, the bank records are right up. The bank records are right on the website of the House Oversight Committee. Over $20 million released August 9th that went to Hunter Biden, his family, and business associates that come from China, Russia. As the chairman of the as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, serving on the Armed Services Committee, this is a great concern because you have foreign individuals that are making payments to the son of the vice president, now son of the president. And obviously, they're buying something. They weren't buying his business advice. They were buying influence.
Well, we just heard from the attorney who had said, no crime has been substantiated on that front. But I want to ask you.
Well, he's representing Hunter Biden because he's in court.
He is, and he has a different standard than members of Congress because what you do is political, and he has to meet a legal benchmark in court, as would those Justice Department prosecutors.
I think what he just did was actually very political. He's not in court when he's on your show.
Fair, fair. Can I please ask you about Iran, though?
I would love
to get to your other hat that you wear as chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Tension's very high. The U.S. has sent more Marines, more ships to the region, and the president has brokered this tentative agreement with Iran to bring home these 5 Americans. You've been briefed. Are you comfortable with the terms?
Well, we haven't really been briefed, and that's really the concern.
Congress was updated on that.
At this point, we have not received the terms of the deal or even what the proposed deal is. The administration has signaled that the release of these detainees is part of a broader negotiation with respect to reinstating some controls on the nuclear weapons and enrichment programs of Iran dating back to the JCPOA. And the concern is that New York Times has reported is that the administration may be pursuing an informal deal as opposed to the formal deal that we had before that had congressional oversight. And what we don't want, obviously, everybody wants the detainees to come home and hostages to come home. We want the administration to work diligently to bring Americans home, whether they're in Iran or Russia or elsewhere. And our hearts certainly go out for them. But in this instance, the administration is signaling that this is part of a broader deal concerning Iran's enrichment program. And if that becomes a secret deal, then that's obviously a great concern to Congress.
These are de-escalatory first steps. You would consider that what? I mean, are you opposed to what the administration's trying to do? I mean, there has been reporting, and CBS has also confirmed that Iran has, at least reduced some of its nuclear development.
Well, actually, there's no real reports of anything being reduced. They're currently at 60% enrichment.
I'm sure you read the Wall Street Journal report that had specifics on enriched uranium.
They were at 3.5% of the JCPOA.
Yes.
They're at 60%. They had 1 year breakout with it getting to the enrichment level that could result in a weapon. They're now weeks away. Freezing them now, where before in the JCPOA agreement, they actually surrendered some of the enrichment that they'd had that was over the levels that were sought. In this, if we just have a deal that freezes where Iran is, and really without the understanding of all aspects of their program, because they had thrown out the UN inspectors from the IAEA, they'd removed the cameras from the sites, we really don't have the fidelity of understanding of where they are or what they're doing at this point.
So you would support a broader diplomatic deal and negotiations with Iran to achieve that?
Absolutely, and certainly negotiations, I think, as they're going forward, are certainly critical. But the terms of the deal are absolutely important because, last time we had an insufficient inspection regime. We had terms that were critical that expired. In this instance, they appear to be careening toward a deal that would be informal, not subject to congressional oversight, because we wouldn't know all the terms. In the last deal, it actually came before Congress for a vote. They had to disclose what the deals were.
I remember.
Right. And at this point, if it's informal,
easy sailing.
what we're concerned about is we don't want a secret deal with Iran.
Very quickly, should Congress ban travel to Iran?
I think it should be certainly considered. I think I know you're going to have coming up one of the family members of one of the detainees, and I think her message is incredibly important. People should not be going to Iran.
Congressman, thank you very much for your time today. We'll be back in a moment.